Welcome back. President Trump's top defense officials meeting at the White House yesterday after his plans to build an Iron Dome-like American defense system. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, National Security Advisor Michael Waltz, and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth all discussing how to secure the nation and prioritize American interests. DOGE has already gotten to work on cutting wasteful spending. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt revealed a freeze on $50 million worth of condoms for Gaza after the agency flagged it. This happening as Trump set to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu next week in Washington. The president invited him. He will become the first foreign leader to visit the White House in Trump's second term. Joining me now is North Carolina Congressman Pat Harrigan. He's a member of the House Armed Services Committee and a combat-decorated Green Beret who earned 2 Bronze Stars serving in Afghanistan. Congressman, thanks very much for being here this morning, and thank you for your service to our country.
Good morning, Maria. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
I'd like to get your take on this Iron Dome and what this means for defense spending. Where do you see the need to increase spending specifically within our armed services?
Well, look, I think that President Trump and Secretary Hegseth have been very clear. The United States of America needs to match the threats of our adversaries to the capabilities that we develop here at home and deploy abroad. And so I think that this is a necessary response to some of the emerging technology that's coming out that threatens us here in the homeland. And so I think that they're doing what's prudent. When you talk about overall defense spending, I think Americans need to step back and realize our place in history right now. And that is that our debt to GDP ratio has never been higher since World War II. And simultaneously, our defense spending has never been lower since World War II as a percentage of GDP. Right now, we are spending 2.9% of our GDP on defense. China right now is at 7%. And Russia, while it has built a raging war economy, is actually running an annual surplus every year. We are behind our adversaries, and we have got to catch up.
Yeah, I think this is a great point. I'm trying to understand if, in fact, this Iron Dome plan is going to mean a massive expansion of space and ground-based systems. And what that means for America. You make the right point, though, in terms of the debt that we face. Spending will total $89 trillion over the next decade. Tax revenue will total $68 trillion over the next decade. So 76% of the spending goes to mandatory programs and interest, 24% to discretionary programs. Is it time to start cutting into mandatory spending here?
Maria, I think at the bottom line, I've been here for 3 weeks, and as a small business owner, somebody that's built a business from a double-wide trailer to now got a 120,000 square foot manufacturing facility. If you're running this like a business, we have revenue problems and we have spending problems. Both of those things need to be addressed. And I think that the president has made commitments, and I think that he will follow through with those commitments to provide pro-growth policies that help get us out of this mess that we're currently in. Simultaneously, we have got to cut spending. On the defense side, we actually need to increase it. This is where a lot of the challenge is going to come in, is reconciling these two things. We are in the reconciliation process, but the reality is our defense industrial base needs an awful lot of work. Because we've become very good at producing the high-cost problem to our enemy's low-cost solution. And until we flip that paradigm, we are going to continue to lose the economics of our conflicts.
Right, and I think this is terrific analysis that you're putting forth. Just look at the Navy and the number of ships that the U.S. has versus the number of ships that China has. But I want to take you to Israel, because the U.S. is sending around 90 Patriot missiles from Israel to Ukraine, because the IDF says it had no use for the older systems. So they're being transferred to Poland before arriving in Ukraine. Ukrainian President Zelensky slammed Putin, saying that he's afraid to negotiate with strong leaders. President Trump threatened Russia with sanctions recently and tariffs if they don't agree to end the war. Congressman, will this war ever end?
Look, I think it's got to end. President Trump's been very clear about his intentions with ending conflict across the globe. I think he cast in his inaugural address a very broad and a very bold mission to end conflict. The way that we're going to do that is we are going to become the strongest nation on earth again, and our military will become the most professional, most lethal fighting force. That is how we deter conflict. That is how we end conflict. If we want to fight, we should be weak. That is what we did during the Biden administration. President Trump is not going to let that happen.
What a relief after 4 years of absolutely zero deterrence to any of our adversaries. It's just unbelievable that Joe Biden sat there and did nothing. I don't know who was running the country, but President Trump signed an executive order now to reinstate more than 8,000 service members discharged for refusing the COVID vaccine. They'll be restored to their previous rank while receiving back pay and full benefits. You introduced a bill banning the Pentagon from issuing any additional COVID vaccine mandates without congressional approval. Nice work. Tell us more.
Hey, this is exactly why Senator Ted Cruz and I filed the Americans Act. We wanted to restore the benefits and the service of those 8,400 service members that were wrongfully discharged because of their principled refusal to not take the COVID vaccine. Absolutely unconscionable what happened to these folks. President Trump took this, ran with it. We have great encouragement from his executive order the other day, reinstating these folks, providing them back pay. And as you said, Maria, the most important thing that remains from our bill is taking away the decision-making process from the president and the Department of Defense and putting it into Congress's hands so we get broad consensus on what should be going into the veins of our troops, and we don't make political decisions when it comes to vaccine mandates in the future.
All right, it's a great point. Congressman, it's good to see you. We will be watching your work, sir. Thank you.